He is drunk doing this, so it's not going to go well. Where did the job reference touch you? Everybody has that one reference that no matter what, that person is going to have your back. For years and years, it was my old roommate, Chris. He was smart, dependable, and he would always come through in a pinch. And no matter what happened, you knew daggone well that he was going to say whatever he needed to make you sound like $1 million. Now, I trusted him, but today I'm going to tell you a story about how a job reference can totally backfire. My old ex-girlfriend had just one dream, and it was to be a cop. She was totally obsessed with it. She did ride-alongs in high school. She was in some sort of like ROTC type of thing. She even helped the cops when it came to busting. They would send her in pretending to want to buy cigarettes. And eventually, we broke up and went separate ways. Fast forward a few years, she hits me up out of the blue for a professional reference. She told me that she finally had a chance to interview. She wanted to know if she could use me to vouch for. She also told me that she had put Chris down to be a reference. I told her it was a great idea. I was like, well, yeah, I always use Chris. He's clutch. And obviously, out of all the people we knew in that era, I don't think I would ask anybody else. He's going to do the trick. She agreed on that, and she please put in a good word. I told her I would. A little while later, I'm in Raleigh, and I'm pre-gaming with my brother and Chris before one of their shows. One of them brought her up, and Chris, out of the blues, I think that she's mad at me right now. I was like, for what? Why on earth? Like, what? He's like, yeah, I think I blacklisted her. It turns out that the detective did call Chris. In my case, I was at the beach and I missed a phone call from the police officer. They did get Chris though. So they got Chris at work, but Chris was busy. Chris worked a job in retail where he would work by himself at long stretches. He answered it long enough to say, hey, I can't take this call right now. Can I call you back? And the detective is like, I will call you back. What's a good time? Chris told him a good time after work. Several hours later, the detective calls him. Here's the problem. When Chris got home from work, Chris had kind of about that phone call. Chris decided that it was a good idea to go ahead and drill down a couple King Cobra 40s. Now, here's the thing. Chris is one of the most mild-mannered, very polite, professional guys you can come across. But you get a couple 40s into that guy, and he becomes the life of the party. He's the funniest character I know. So in Chris's case, he's kind of half liquored up and he decides to answer the detective's questions. And he is drunk doing this, so it's not going to go well. While Chris is half lit, hyping her up, the detective asks him something along the lines of, give me an example of something in her that you saw that let you know she wanted to be a police officer. And this is after Chris had told him that he knew that was her dream. So Chris thinks about it for a second and he decides to tell about her 21st birthday party. Now, any sane, sober, rational, normal person knows that that's probably not a great thing to bring up when you're talking to law enforcement, number one. It wouldn't matter if it was Wendy's calling for a reference. I don't know that you'd bring up someone's 21st birthday party. But he did. So he unwittingly hits with some high points to start. He lets them know that it was a great time. A bunch of people showed up and she got blackout drunk. And we had to physically pick her blackout drunk up off a table in the middle of the yard and drag her into the house and put her to bed. If that wasn't enough, he hit with the cherry on top, the coup de grace. He told him about how she tased him. Now, tase, like what are you talking about? I bought her for her 21st birthday a taser. I worked at a pawn shop. I got one and I thought it'd be cool. She gets this taser. She's lit. This party, everybody there is pretty wasted. Of course, at a party full of young 20-somethings, somebody gets a taser. What do you think the first thing that people are going to request? They want to see it in action. So she's sitting there, lighting it up, and who's going to get it? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I damn for sure wasn't going to get it. Chris volunteers. And Chris is like, oh, I'll do it. Oh. So tases him on the arm, and it's, you know, get a good laugh. And then a bunch of drunks had to up the ante. They convinced Chris to pull down the back of his pants and tase him on the ass, much to the delight of everyone at the party. Now, that's a funny anecdote for anybody. However, I don't know that that's a great story to tell a cop that's calling for someone's job reference, but he did. Chris thought that the detective would find that story hilarious. Turns out the detective did not find it hilarious. He didn't find it funny at all. A few days later, old girl gets a phone call with the results of the interview process. And it turns out she didn't get the job. The detective told her that not only did she not get the job, but they asked if she would not apply again. And in the future, she probably should pick better references. As you would imagine, she was quite upset. So he ends up sending Chris a long, angry email, just letting him have it. Now, I never saw the email or Facebook message or whatever it was. I kind of wish I had, but she lit him up. It was pretty funny. And look, as furious as she was, I totally get it. I would have been upset too, as would anybody for any job. In Chris's case, he was super bummed out that he had done that to her. There's a moral to the story. Number one, pick your job references wisely. And number two, ensure that your job references probably are going to be able to vouch for you while sober. At the end of the day, though I had broken up with her years prior, moved on, and was married, I felt bad for her. I knew that was her dream. That was kind of her identity to a certain extent. I don't really know what became of her. From what I'd heard, that she moved on and career-wise, and she made something of herself, and I think she's doing something that's probably a lot more lucrative. It worked out for her in the end. I would imagine that at this point in her life, she can look back on that years ago, led to something bigger and better for her. At the same time, in retrospect, she probably still wants to punch Chris in the face. So if you enjoyed that story, make sure you subscribe and let me know if you've ever had something like that happen in the comments. Have you ever had a job reference not come through? Have you ever been screwed by a job reference? I'm Jay Baker. This is Say It Anyway, and I'll see you next time.